Hi, my name is Justin, and I run the This Just In YouTube channel. I wanted to try something a little bit different today, and since we were all stuck in the house anyways, I figured now's the best time to do it, But so I decided that I was going to create like one of the tournament brackets for all the shows that I've seen in the past couple years, except for a few of the smaller ones, smaller touring productions like The Wizard of Oz and The Sound of Music and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer live on stage. I wasn't going to include some of those, but for the most part, this is it's everything that I've seen since I really started seeing shows back in high school, so 7-8 years ago. So yeah, I thought this would be a pretty fun idea, and who knows, if you enjoy it, let me know, and I'll do similar content to this. As you can see, I really like movies too. I could do some movie stuff, but let me know, and I'll consider that. So what I have open here is a screen recording on Photoshop of the bracket that I created, and I know it's too big to see right now, but in the first round, all of the shows that I've seen, I put into a random generator on Google, and I let them generate where in the bracket it was going to go. So everything is in a random order, and I didn't place anything anywhere. So we'll start with round one. Let me just scroll up here, make it bigger so it's easy to see. All right. So, Les Mis and Chicago are both in the same bracket for round one. They're two great shows, and I wish I could put them both into round two, but one of them has to, like, if I follow the rule, I could break the rules. It's my own video, but if I follow the rules of the bracket, I'm gonna say that Les Mis beats out Chicago. Now, I've seen Les Mis 3 times, and I've seen Chicago once. Not because I didn't want to go see Chicago again, because I'd love to go see Chicago again. It's just Les Mis was touring around me more so than Chicago was, and I could go see Chicago in New York at any time, but Les Mis I've seen twice at the Boston Opera House and once at PPAC, the Providence Performing Arts Center, and I've also seen Chicago at the Providence Performing Arts Center. Now, a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on this one, because I have a hot take, and it's my opinion. Please don't yell at me. I respect your opinion, and you can respect mine. But I did not like Phantom of the Opera. I thought it was dragged out and much more than it needed to be. So, for me, it's easily Rent. I listen to Rent all the time. I can't get enough of Rent, actually. I even liked Rent Live with that they did on Fox. And I've seen Rent twice, once at the Schubert Theater in Boston, and once at the Providence Performing Arts Center. Okay. Shrek or If Then? This is tough because I know If Then is clearly the better show. I saw it at the Boston Opera House. But Shrek was actually the first show that I listened to that got me, like, invested into musical theater. So, this is a tough one for me. I think If Then's going to edge it out. Just because it is a better show. But I do say I'll probably listen to Shrek more often because it has some fun music in it. Alright. Bandstand, I saw in New York with the original cast, which was amazing. And A Bronx Tale, which I saw in Boston at the Opera House. Actually, fun fact, the night that I went to see Bronx Tale, both Robert De Niro and Chaz, whatever his last name is in Italian, they both showed up during curtain call. It was kind of fun. But honestly, I think Bandstand is was better in my opinion. I liked the music more. I listened to the music more. There's a few good songs in Bronx Tale, but overall I think Bandstand takes it. Now, Jersey Boys I saw at the Boston Opera House, and Hedwig I saw at the Schubert Theater in Boston. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of jukebox musicals. I don't like shows that are written about people who write music and perform their own music. So, but I really didn't like Hedwig either. I think Hedwig has a lot to do with the person who stars in it. That's why I listen to the Neil Patrick Harris cast recording all the time. And I didn't know who the guy was. I know he went on to play King George in Hamilton for a while there, but overall, and this is weird for me to say because I'm not a big jukebox musical fan. I'm gonna say Jersey Boys. Overall, I just felt bored during Hedwig when it wasn't a fun, upbeat song. Now, this is a tough one. Kinky Boots and Something Rotten. Each of these I've seen, I don't know how many times. I've seen Kinky Boots in New York, in Boston, in Providence, twice in Boston actually, and Something Rotten I saw twice in New York, once in Boston, once in Providence, and at the Hanover Theater in Worcester too. And honestly, there's something about Something Rotten that's just it's so funny, and I'm someone who does I like a comedy, and Kinky Boots is great too. I listen to Kinky Boots all the time. But Something Rotten has easily got to take it. You know, there's something about that comedy effect for me that just, it works. Next up, we have Beetlejuice and Pippin. I don't want to sound like I like this one more because it's the newer one, but I saw Beetlejuice twice in New York already, and I saw Pippin once in New York and once in Boston as well. And, I don't know. I did not expect myself to like Beetlejuice because I'm not a big fan of the movie. But I walked out of that show and I said, if they were going to play it again in 10 minutes, I would have sat right back down in that theater and watched it again 10 minutes later. So for me, Beetlejuice is the winner. Alright, now we have SpongeBob and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. These are just two totally different shows, right? You have one that's based off this cartoon character for children, and then you have one based off of a book that a lot of children read, but it ended up growing with them and therefore aged and matured with the audience. But again, SpongeBob was a show. I mean, I didn't expect to like either of these shows, and I really did. I've seen both of them in New York twice, and I saw SpongeBob 2 more times in Boston. But Harry Potter, I feel like it's heavy, which is good when you're there watching it. But SpongeBob's just got this fun to it. It's not like as childish as the television show is. So I'm gonna say, and I listen to it all the time, and I made 3 music videos based off SpongeBob. So SpongeBob's gonna go up there, go into round 2 for me. Addams Family and Motown. I saw both of these on tour in Worcester at the Hanover Theater in Massachusetts. And I have to say, I listened to Addams Family a whole lot more. And the Motown's really not my type of music. Again, I said I'm not big on the whole music that people have already written. I like new. And I don't really listen to radio music a lot. I listen to show tunes. So I'm going to say Addams Family really bumps it out for me. Plus, when I saw Motown, people in the audience were treating it like a concert, and they were getting up out of their chairs and singing and dancing. That really turned me off because that's not what it should be when you go to a show. King Kong and Lightning Thief. In terms of production budgets, you couldn't get any further off. Because King Kong had these 2 giant, massive puppets on stage. And Lightning Thief made some, papier-mâché puppetry and some lighting tricks, and it looked really cool. And I do have to confess, I'm a massive Percy Jackson fan. I read the whole series, and the movies weren't great, but I loved the movies, and I loved the show. And the King Kong, it didn't like, I don't know. If it wasn't for the puppets, King Kong would not have lasted as long as it did on Broadway. So I'm going Lightning Thief on this. Cats and Matilda. So I've seen Cats 3 times in New York, Boston, and Providence, and I've seen Matilda twice. Actually, Matilda was my very first Broadway show in New York. So it's always going to hold that special place in my heart, but it's got to move on. I know all you Andrew Lloyd Webber fans are saying you're not moving on Phantom and you're not moving on Cats. Cats is just so weird. I can't follow it. Like, it's fun when you sit there and watch it, but you don't leave going, oh yeah, I'd want to see that again. Like, I enjoyed my time when I was there, but I was also like, oh man, I gotta go sit and watch Cats again. So Matilda's moving forward. Next we have Lion King and The Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. I've seen Lion King twice in Boston, once in Providence, and Gentleman's Guide once in Boston at the Schubert Theater. And this is kind of like a no-brainer. Gentleman's Guide was great. I had a lot of fun with it, but Lion King is the Lion King, you know? There's amazing puppetry work, and the lighting, and I love Scar. He's my favorite Disney villain. And it's just, Lion King's got, I feel like I don't even need to explain myself, but I also don't want to not explain myself on that one. So Lion King moves forward. Fun Home and Book of Mormon. Fun Home was very dark, was very deep, and wasn't my thing. Like I said earlier, Book of Mormon's a comedy, and I love me a comedy, so Book of Mormon's moving forward. Wicked and Finding Neverland. Another one that I wrestle back and forth with, because Wicked is wicked, right? It's been on Broadway for like 10, 15 years, something like that. And Finding Neverland's a rather new show. It's coming to an end on its tour and all that, but I loved Finding Neverland. I really did. Like Wicked, I've seen Wicked 3 times, but I think I've seen Finding Neverland 4. Yeah, just 4 times. So Finding Neverland's gonna move forward for me. Again, I love Wicked. Don't yell at me. Come From Away and Tootsie. I've seen them both twice in New York, and Come From Away's on tour, so I've seen it in Boston and Providence. I saw this for the first time when it was still in previews, and I had no idea what to expect. The album hadn't been released yet, and I thought it was going to be a tearjerker. To my surprise, it wasn't. It was actually very uplifting and fun, but Tootsie was so funny. I loved Tootsie. I listened to it all the time. So Tootsie's moving forward in my book. On the Town and Dear Evan Hansen. I only saw On the Town the one time, back when it was out in 2015. But Evan Hansen I've seen twice now. Yeah, New York and Boston. I was gonna go see it with Jordan Fisher, but they shut down Broadway, and so I got a refund for that ticket. I'm hoping once everything reopens up, I'll be able to go see it again, because I got to get my girlfriend to go see Jordan Fisher. But Dear Evan Hansen is clearly the winner on that. I don't know. I shouldn't say clearly, because other people might have other opinions on it, but in my opinion, it's clearly the winner. How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Hello Dolly. Seen Hello Dolly 3 times. Bette Midler, Bernadette Peters, and Carolee Carmelo. And I saw Grinch with Gavin Lee, and he was great. Gavin Lee made a wonderful Grinch, but Hello Dolly's just a better show than Grinch is, right? And Grinch, being a seasonal show, it always presented itself as, I don't want to say not Broadway, but it just seemed almost more cash grabby. I love me a good cash grabby show. I think some of them can be really great, and I like Grinch. I've seen it 3 times, but just Hello Dolly's a better show overall. Fiddler on the Roof and School of Rock. I walked into Fiddler on the Roof in Boston just a few months ago, not knowing a damn thing about it, and I walked out so entertained, but also it was such a depressing ending. And School of Rock, again, I like me some comedies, and School of Rock takes a cake for me. I've seen it 4 times now, and there's something about it. Like, again, I'm a fan of the movie too, so maybe there's a little bit of nostalgia with it. In Transit and Love Never Dies. Oh God, I hated both of these shows. Again, there's nothing against Andrew Lloyd Webber because he's got some shows that I love, like Jesus Christ Superstar, but I haven't seen that. In Transit has to take it over Love Never Dies, just based off the fact that it was an all a cappella musical, which I thought was really impressive, and I enjoyed watching that. But there was no, didn't feel like connected to any of the characters or anything. But based off the fact that it's an entirely a cappella musical, it's going to move on. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Company. Company was actually the last show I saw. I was in New York, and I had seen 2 out of the 5 shows that I was supposed to see that week, and they shut down Broadway. So, that was the last show I saw. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory I've seen 3 times. And I'm going to say Company. I was laughing out loud more than I thought I would in Company. So there's that. And I found myself laughing a whole lot during Charlie and Chocolate Factory too. It's just Company was a little more mature, and Charlie and Chocolate Factory was very all over the place. It was like one genre, and then it was another genre of music, and I'm not a big fan of that. I like to be consistent with the style, so that's why Charlie and Chocolate Factory is getting bumped out. Now, On Your Feet and Once on This Island. Wasn't a big fan of either of them, really. Again, I'm not a big fan of the jukebox musicals, and Once on This Island just didn't keep my attention other than when there was a goat on stage in the middle, on the sand. But based off technical aspects of the show, I have to give it to Once on This Island, just because the water and the sand that they had on stage was you walked into the theater and you felt like you were kind of in this like really poor place where people are living, and it showed the amount of care that the designers took in putting that together. Aladdin and Pretty Woman. I love me some Andy Carl. But Aladdin's got to take it for me. I'm a Disney guy. I love Disney, so Aladdin is moving on. Frozen and Elf the Musical. Look, I've been Let It Go'd out. I've listened to Let It Go too many times, but also I've kind of been elfed out too. I've seen it 4 times just because it keeps touring in my area, and my girlfriend loves it, so I take her to see it, and I complain half the time. But they're both fun shows. I'm going to give it to Frozen, again, based off technical aspects of it, so Frozen's moving forward. Groundhog Day and Miss Saigon. I'm going to make some more people mad here. I understand Miss Saigon is something that people have loved for years and years and years. But Groundhog Day hit me emotionally. I don't know what it was about the show. Whether it was Andy Carl's performance or the track that the whole stage spun around. Just Groundhog Day takes it. I loved me some Groundhog Day. I actually went to the closing day show because I was sad it was leaving, and I wanted to see it again before it had left. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go see it for their last performance, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. Waitress in Hadestown. Oh, Waitress is really, really good. I've seen Waitress 4 times. I've seen Hadestown twice. I loved Waitress. I didn't think I was gonna. I knew I was gonna like it because I enjoyed the music, but I loved Waitress. But Hadestown, I have this thing with Greek mythology, and the way they play with the Greek mythology, but make it look more like it's in a almost modern day setting, while also being in this weird like Great Depression era esque and then Industrial Revolution. Once they get into Hadestown with the lighting, I loved Hadestown, so that's moving forward. Plus, Patrick Page and Andre DeShield's performances in that are just phenomenal. Sweeney Todd versus Avenue Q. So I saw Avenue Q at the New World Stages just last year before they closed. And I saw Sweeney Todd at the Barrow Street Theater in New York, where they had reconverted the theater to look like a pie shop. And you could buy an extra, like, I don't know, $25 on your ticket, and you can go in early and eat meat pies. And it was really cool. So there was only like a handful of performers, just enough people that they needed, 3 instruments and no microphones. And the space was tiny. And I love me some Sondheim. So I listen to Avenue Q all the time, but Sweeney Todd takes the cake. I love Sweeney. And I even like the Johnny Depp and Tim Burton's version. But the way that I saw it in New York at the Barrow Street Theater was so good. I can't get over it. Rock of Ages and the band's visit. Okay. I walked into Rock of Ages at the Wang Theater in Boston with 0 expectation because everyone was complaining that the movie was awful years and years ago. And I never heard any real buzz about the Broadway show. So I saw it with no expectations, and I was so thoroughly entertained by it. I had so much fun. And the band's visit was just, I walked out of that going, yeah, that was a nice uplifting show, but I didn't have this overwhelming sense of joy like I did with Rock of Ages, so that's moving forward. Again, I enjoyed band's visit, and I just got the email saying they had canceled it in Boston because of the corona thing. And I'm upset that I'm not going to see it again, but I'm glad I did see it the one time that I did. Be More Chill and Anastasia. I like Be More Chill. I think it's a nice contemporary musical that kids nowadays can really feel like that's their version of high school. Anastasia, again, another show that I walked in with no expectations and really, really liked. I've never seen the original movie, so I didn't know what to expect. So Anastasia's moving forward, in my opinion. I love when vehicles are on stage, and they had that whole big train sequence. That was so much fun. Mean Girls and Cruel Intentions, the musical. Easy. Mean Girls beats Cruel Intentions. Cruel Intentions is something that my girlfriend made me see, and I hated every minute of it because they just had these bad 90s, 2000 era pop songs instead of writing an original score. It was so awful. I'm sorry to anyone who enjoys this or anyone who was part of that production. It was not my cup of tea. I did not like it one bit, and I found Mean Girls a lot better than it should have been. So Mean Girls is moving forward. Mean Girls is probably better than it should have been just based off the fact that Tina Fey was still involved. And Tina Fey, I don't love her work, but I enjoy it very, very much. Mamma Mia and Escape to Margaritaville. I bought tickets to see Mamma Mia in Boston for my girlfriend. But it turns out that was her first day of classes for summer classes in college. So me and my buddy went to Mamma Mia the musical, and we didn't know what to expect. And we ended up having a lot of fun. And I know I've been saying that I don't like music that had already been written. I like original scores. But the only song I recognized was Mamma Mia, so in my eyes it pretty much is all written for the show. Other than Mamma Mia, you could play ABBA music and I'd have no idea who it was. But Escape to Margaritaville was just it was a fun show, and I think I enjoyed it more because they had upgraded our seats in the theater, because we were supposed to be all the way in the back of the marquee theater in the balcony, but I don't think the theater was full. So they said, hey, come on, why don't you move downstairs? And we were dead smack in the center of the orchestra, and it was great. So I do have to say Mamma Mia is moving forward. The Prom and Hamilton. Look. We all know Hamilton's moving forward because Hamilton is Hamilton. But I do have to say, I really enjoyed The Prom. I think The Prom was great. I was very sad because Christopher Fitzgerald was out the day I went to see it. But the main guy, Barry. Barry's going to prom. My face was lit up the whole time. I really, really enjoyed the show, but Hamilton is Hamilton, and it's going to push it out. I've seen Hamilton 4 times. I'm lucky enough. Seen it in New York twice, and once in Boston and Providence. And I've really enjoyed every cast I've seen. Actually, I saw Austin Scott twice because he moved from the tour to Broadway. And he was a phenomenal Hamilton. And my last bracket is The Play That Goes Wrong and Little Shop of Horrors. I saw The Play That Goes Wrong on tour in Worcester at the Hanover Theater. And it was so funny, especially once you got to Act 2. But Little Shop of Horrors is just so good. I love me a man-eating plant who sings like a black dude. It's Little Shop of Horrors. And I saw just a few weeks ago with Gideon Glick. Christian Borle was out for the week, so we had his understudy, which was fine because the kid who played the dentist did very, very good. I've always loved Little Shop of Horrors since I was like a young kid, so I'm gonna say Little Shop is moving forward. Okay, so now we're on to round 2, and we're gonna work from the bottom to back up to the top. So we're looking at Little Shop of Horrors versus Hamilton right now, and I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad right now by saying this, but Little Shop of Horrors beats Hamilton by a landslide. The music, that kind of like doo-woppy music, and the interaction between the characters and the puppetry, honestly, I might have a soft spot for some puppets, so that's why Little Shop of Horrors is just edging out Hamilton. I love Hamilton. I wear a Hamilton hat just about every day. So, Mean Girls versus Mamma Mia. Based on the nostalgia factor and the just Mamma Mia they're both kind of girly musicals, but I think Mean Girls had a little bit more of that mass appeal to it. So I'm gonna say Mean Girls just based off that factor. Rock of Ages versus Anastasia. To me, this is going to go Rock of Ages just because I had a lot more fun at it. Like, neither of those two I'm, like, super big fans of. So, just by talking about what I took away from that show when I saw it, Rock of Ages made a bigger impact on me, so that's why that's moving on. Hadestown versus Sweeney Todd is a little troublesome for me because I absolutely adore both of those shows. But I think Sweeney Todd has just got to edge out Hadestown. Just the way I saw that show presented to me was phenomenal. The absolute interaction with the audience and the way that you felt sitting in something that looked like a pie shop was a lot of fun. Frozen and Groundhog Day, in my opinion, there's no real competition there. Groundhog Day is going to run away with that. Aladdin and Once on This Island, again, just because Once on This Island came from one of those rounds that didn't have much to offer in its place, I think Aladdin is a much, much, much better show. In Transit and Company runs away with that just because In Transit was up against trash. Hello Dolly and School of Rock. School of Rock is probably going to take it for me just because it was a lot more fun. There was, like, Hello Dolly is hysterical on its own, right? I love the comedy aspects in Hello Dolly. But School of Rock had the kids, and they all played their instruments live on stage, and it was just, there was a lot more that made that show a little bit better than just, like, your average, like, revival. So that's why School of Rock is going to edge it out. Tootsie and Dear Evan Hansen. Yes, Tootsie is a much more fun show, but Dear Evan Hansen is a much, much better show. So that's going to move forward into round 3. Book of Mormon and Finding Neverland. It's going to be Book of Mormon. Book of Mormon's just so funny, and I just keep going back and back and back and wishing it would tour again. So I love me some Finding Neverland, don't get me wrong, but I just think Book of Mormon just edges it out just that much. Matilda and Lion King, I don't think there's much competition there. Lion King was my favorite animated movie of all time, and just seeing it adapted on stage with those beautiful puppets is phenomenal. Lightning Thief and Addams Family. This is a very interesting one because they're both adaptations of something that I love so much. But I think the way that Lightning Thief presents itself as being this kind of found object, low-budget show, as opposed to relying heavily on big sets and extravagant costumes, I think the kind of low-budget quality of that show made it a lot better. Beetlejuice and SpongeBob. This one's really tough, because I didn't think I was going to like either of these shows walking in. But I think Beetlejuice has gotta edge out SpongeBob just by so much. Just maybe because of the pure talent. Like, I love Rob McClure. So Beetlejuice just pushes it out. Jersey Boys and Something Rotten, there's no real competition there. Something Rotten's miles better than Jersey Boys, but that's just because I'm not a big fan of jukebox musicals. Bandstand and If Then. Each of these shows I've only seen one time, and they're not anything that I listen to regularly, but I think I'm going to have to say If Then just because the story plot is very interesting and done in a cool way, being as one decision can change your life in a million different ways. And Les Mis and Rent. I gotta say Rent on this one, just because it's a lot more fun, and they're like, it's music that you can find yourself singing in the car and having a lot of fun with. Les Mis is something that you gotta sit and digest. So I'm gonna say Rent is just that much more lighthearted. Okay, so now we're looking at Rent and If Then. I think Rent takes it by a mile. There's no competition there. Something Rotten and Beetlejuice, the Rob McClure battle. Oh God, I love both of these shows so much, but they're both hysterical. I love being a comedy, but they're both so super funny. But I have to edge out Something Rotten. Beetlejuice is... It had to have been easily my favorite show of 2019. But there's just something about the whole 11 o'clock number, Make an Omelet, is just so crazy and stupid with so many references. I had a grin on my face from the beginning of that show to the end of that show. And it's just so much fun. Lightning Thief versus The Lion King. We couldn't go from like a higher budget in production to a lower budget in production. And you know what? The higher budget has to take it. Lion King, it just physically is so beautiful. The story is phenomenal. And look, I love both of the original, what they're adapted from, the books, the movie of Lion King. I love both, but Lion King just edges it out. Book of Mormon and Dear Evan Hansen. This is tough because I've said this whole time, I love comedies, but Dear Evan Hansen is just a show that gets to you, right? It hits you right where it hurts, and it just, every time you think you're done and it couldn't get any worse, it just gets worse and worse, and you feel so bad for this Evan kid. You want Evan to be okay by the end of the show, and Dear Evan Hansen's is definitely going to go over Book of Mormon, and it hurts me to do that just because I love Book of Mormon so much. School of Rock versus Company. Huh. It's like an Andrew Lloyd Webber versus Stephen Sondheim in this little thing. You know, I've got to say School of Rock with this, just because I've sat with School of Rock longer than I have with Company, and I'm loving Company for what it is right now, but I don't want to say Company just because it's the new thing. To me, I know it's been around forever, but I've only just recently started listening to it, and I've been listening to School of Rock and having a lot of fun with School of Rock for a long time now, so that's gonna edge it out. Aladdin versus Groundhog Day. No competition there. I think Groundhog Day was a much better show than Aladdin, so that's gonna go there. Sweeney Todd versus Rock of Ages. Rock of Ages got there by luck. Sweeney Todd's sweeping that. And Mean Girls versus Little Shop of Horrors. I think we all know where this is going. Little Shop, definitely. Now, Little Shop of Horrors versus Sweeney Todd. Both musicals about murder. And oh, I love them both so much. But I think Little Shop is just a little bit more relatable and hits a little closer to home than Sweeney Todd. Like, not everyone can relate to being a barber who was wrongfully imprisoned and then coming back for vengeance 20 years later. But everyone can relate to just wanting to get the girl, you know? School of Rock and Groundhog Day, easy. Groundhog Day runs away with that. And I know Groundhog Day had a very short run on Broadway, which was sad, and I know that, like, I'm probably the only one who loves it as much as I do, but I think it really deserved more. Lion King and Dear Evan Hansen. This is tough too. They're all gonna be tough at this point. What am I saying? But I think Lion King's got to take it for me. I think maybe it's the nostalgia behind it, but I think Lion King, I hate to keep saying the word, it was a lot more fun, but that's really how I judge, like, do I want to rush back out to see this show? And I didn't want to rush back out to see Dear Evan Hansen. It's a wonderful show, and I'll see it a million more times. But Lion King's just so much fun, and it's beautiful to look at. So that's why it's going to be pushed up into the next round. Rent and Something Rotten. I'm going to make a lot of people mad here. Something Rotten is better than Rent. I'm sorry. Just the amount of comedy in that show and the way that they make everything seem like a joke, it's just so good. Alright, so what are we looking at? Something Rotten versus Lion King, and Groundhog Day versus Little Shop of Horrors. Whew! This is going to be a tough one. But this is the first time I'm not going to let nostalgia run its course. I'm going to take Something Rotten down into this. I've seen the show like 5 times already, and I'm so terribly sad it's not touring anymore, because every time it stopped near me, I would have gone to see it. So Something Rotten just sat with me, and that type of humor really got to me, where it's like you're constantly making references to stuff, and if you don't know what it is, it's gonna go right over your head, and you're gonna go, huh? But that's the type of humor I like. That kind of like inside baseball jokes. Groundhog Day and Little Shop of Horrors. Ooh. I've been sitting on Little Shop of Horrors, the movie and the soundtracks, much, much longer than Groundhog Day. And I didn't see Little Shop just up until last week. But Groundhog Day has to take it. Just Andy Karl's performance in that was so good. And I don't know if Dear Evan Hansen wasn't coming out that same year, I think Andy Karl really had a shot at the Tony Award, because what he's able to do with that unlikable character and turn him into someone that you're rooting for by the end of the show is really fantastic. But this is the big one. Something Rotten versus Groundhog Day. I guess these are my two favorite shows, and I pretty much guessed that it would come to these two, but I wasn't 100% sure how everything would rack up. But honestly, I gotta give it to Something Rotten. I think that show, just the type of humor, the characters are all so likable, no matter how kind of like Nick Bottom, our protagonist, makes some real dicey decisions, but you still love him and you're rooting for him. So Something Rotten's gotta come in my number one favorite show I've ever seen. So that's my bracket. Something Rotten wins it out. Let me know what your favorite show is. If you want to give me your top 10s, your top 5s, your top 20s, your top 100s, do it. I'll read them. We can have a lively discussion in the comments. Maybe just everyone please be respectful of each other's opinions, and just realize that your opinion is no more valid than someone else's opinion, because opinion's not fact. But I had some fun doing this, and if you guys had fun, let me know, and maybe I'll do something else like this, or do other type of content, and we'll see where it goes. Alright, thank you. Bye.